So we're going to dive right in, but I want to start with a story as we get into it. The year was 2017 BCE. That stands for before church employment. So I was not on staff here as a pastor at Soma. I was working in my prior life as an accountant. And I remember going through one of the hardest seasons at the time that I had ever encountered. I remember I was feeling very anxious and I was likely depressed and just feeling like, man, like my thoughts are not my own and I don't feel right. I don't feel like myself. And I just realized I needed some help. It was the busiest season I'd ever been in at the time professionally. And it was easy for me to think, man, I'm good. I can't tell anyone about anything that I'm experiencing. I can't let people in because, this is embarrassing. Something that I so easily discounted in other people in the past is now knocking at my door. And so I can't let anyone know what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing. And so I started to withdraw. And part of the reason that made sense was because I had come out of a season a few years before in an old job where I kind of made a decision and I thought it was the right decision. And my previous employers didn't agree with that. And it was just a thing that really made it hard for me to trust people. And so I'm just in this season of needing help and in isolation. I'm kind of just pulling back. And I remember crying out to the Lord for help. Like, Lord, I need help. I remember turning to his word to renew my mind. I remember turning to praise and worship music to restore my weary soul. And again, I remember feeling embarrassed because I was like, man, this is something I should have never been dealing with. I don't even know if this is a real thing. And other people, they're just making it up. And I just remember crying out for help. But I remember the Lord also bringing into my life a young man that I met who joined our life group, who actually was walking through something very similar. He was coming out of a season of extreme hurt. And there was a lot of anxiety. And little did he know at the time, and did I know that, I was just a few steps ahead of him in this process of healing, that I was able to turn around and at least share a little bit of what I was experiencing. And together in this friendship, we found some healing. We found some wholeness and some restoration. And I believe that the Lord brought me through that hard season, journeying through that difficult season to build and to grow empathy and compassion towards something that I had never experienced before in my life. And it happened in community. It happened in friendship. In fact, it happened in life group. And so we've been journeying through the book of Romans these past several weeks. And if you've been a part of Soma Church this year at all, you'll know our word for the year is Together for Good. You can see Together for Good on the screen. And tonight we're specifically talking about community, the value, the importance, the need for community. And to play off of our word of the year, Together for Good, I want to give you the title of this message, and it's Together, It's Good. And we have a lofty goal today. We're going to hit 10. I said 10 reasons for community, reasons to engage in deeper community. In fact, we're going to look at 10 reasons why we can't, won't, or don't. So say that with me. Can't, won't, or don't engage in community. And in fact, those same 10 reasons why we can't, won't, or don't engage in community are the exact same reasons we need to. And so if you don't remember anything else from our time together, remember this. Your wish I could is the exact reason why you really should. That's our sermon in a sentence. Your I wish I could is the exact reason why you really should. So do you think we can hit all 10 in the next 2 hours? Don't worry. I like to talk fast. We'll be done in 15 minutes. It's going to be good. No, I got to give Soma kids enough time to get through their lesson because they are learning truth over there. But we're going to dive in. So the Apostle Paul, he gets it. Paul, whether he's writing to churches from afar or he's writing from a jail cell, he understands community. We see all throughout the book of Romans, he's instructing things like bear with one another and practice love in action, show hospitality, humility towards one another. No one person is greater than the other. In fact, his New Testament letters, they resound this same instruction, this same encouragement. And so our jumping off point for today is going to be 1 Thessalonians 5. And you can start to turn there. We'll get to the verse in just a minute. But couple weeks ago, we did a declaration at the end of service. And we read out from 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 12 through 24. Well, just rewinding one verse 11, we see an instruction and an encouragement from Paul. And he's basically saying, he starts off with therefore, which is just a giant transitional word. So we're going to be in verse 11 of chapter 5, 1 Thessalonians. And this is kind of a culmination of the instruction and the exhorting and the encouragement for this entire book. It's instructing them how to do life together, how to worship together, how to live together as they're preparing for the return of Christ. And so he says this, he says, therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact you are doing. This word build up in the original language, I have a hard time saying this, so I have to think of yogurt. The way you say it is oikodomeo. So like oikos yogurt, oikosdomeo. And it means literally to build a house or construct a physical structure. Figuratively, it's to strengthen, to encourage, to promote growth in someone. I don't know about you, but that's a picture of community if I ever heard one. When you picture, whether physically or figuratively, two things coming together, to build, to support, to strengthen. That's the picture of community. And we see this word all throughout Romans. We're going to actually see it next week or the week after when we hit Romans 15. But we see this word all throughout Paul's writings. He gets it. Paul understands community, and we got to understand it too, okay? And so we're going to look at what Scripture says about community. We're going to talk about what Soma Church believes about community, and also how we live that out practically here at Soma Church. But I got to be honest before we dive too much deeper. You know, I was originally super excited to share this message because little do you know, about 2 weeks from now at the start of September is the last session, our fall session of life groups. And I thought, great, I'm going to teach on community. The calendar's perfect to where I can get the momentum to funnel people into groups. It's going to be great. People are going to get into groups, get involved, get engaged. This is awesome. And the more I was thinking about it, and the more I was praying about it, and just reading and asking the Lord, I was like, man, I don't want to beat them over the head with life groups. I'm not going to beg them and drag them into life groups. But Lord, you asked me to share. I believe you asked me to share about community. So if I can't use it for the platform, use the platform of getting them into groups, what do you exactly want me to share? What is the burden that I'm supposed to have for this message? And I asked the Lord, and all too quickly, the Lord reminded me. I said, what's my burden for this? I felt like I heard the Lord say, you're not good at community either. I was like, oh, tell me how you really feel, Lord. But I felt like he said, you're not good at this either, but you've been learning and growing. So take what you've been learning and growing and share it with everyone else. And so, unlike a painful timeshare presentation where you're just stuck wondering where this is going, I will let you know from the very beginning, yes, I will, in fact, take away the wonder. I will let you know that by the end of this, I am going to encourage you to be a part of a life group. But we're going to journey through a lot of different things before we get there. And when we think about community, when I'm saying community at the highest level, what I mean is deeper relationships, deeper friendships. But before we go any further, do you really want that in your life? Do I really want that in my life? Do we want to engage in meaningful relationships and have deep conversations with people? Because all too often you're engaging with someone and it's just this typical hey, how you doing? I'm good. You? Busy. All right, see ya. That's the encounter. It's this 1 to 2 volleys of awkward pleasantries before you start talking about your favorite sports team or man, it sure is hot out there today. And you're like, man, this is an awkward conversation. I'm out. And so I wonder, how much do we actually want these deeper, meaningful relationships? And so we're going to look at the first 5 as kind of a general overview of reasons that we might not engage in community. And then the second half, the second 5, we're going to look specifically at why we don't engage in community in church in the context of things like groups. And so we got a good, lofty goal. We're going to jump in. But before we do, I want to have a quick inventory, a little self-assessment of where you're at in this season. There'll be some questions up on the screen, and I want you to ask yourself these questions about how you're doing in this season of community. So how am I doing in this season? Do I feel like I'm a good friend? Do I feel lonely, isolated, engaged? Do I do community well? When was the last time that you hung out with a friend just for the sake of hanging out, not because there was some agenda attached to it? When was the last time you did something for someone in your life without feeling obligated you had to do it? Well, I'm going to have to go over there because if I don't. How about this? When was the last time you let someone in? You felt seen and you felt known. Why don't you ask the Holy Spirit in this moment to highlight to you what about this area of community in this season of life for you right now that the Lord might want to comfort and counsel in as we go through these 10 reasons together. And so we got 10. The first one, we're going to dive right in. The first of 10 reasons why we don't engage in community. Number one is I don't have time. Unfortunately, you are not unique in this. I am not unique in this. You ask 10 people, you ask 100 people. They're all going to have the same answer. I'm too busy. I don't have enough time. None of us are unique in this. We have to prioritize, though, the things that matter in our lives. If it's important to you, you will make time for it. There's an old saying, don't prioritize your schedule, rather schedule your priorities. But what happens? I mean, the spouse, the work, the kids gets busy, gets hard, gets consuming. And it's all we can do to find a few free minutes in the day to scroll on our phones or pull up something on Netflix just to get like a bit of escape, just a little moment, a glimpse of escape. None of us have time, though, when the things of life get so stressful. I was interested in this, and so I did a little bit of research. And fascinating to me, but there are, when it comes to AI right now, like things like ChatGPT, Google, all the different platforms, right now there's about a billion unique users of AI every week. Every week. And so I was curious, and I thought, okay, well, we did a little digging, and about 15% of users every week are turning to AI for emotional support, some relational advice. When you think about that, that might not sound like a lot, like 15% of 100% is not that bad. Well, 15% of a billion is 150 million people. That means a third of the United States, if you want to put that into context, a third of the United States is turning to machines for relationship advice. Another way to say that is a third of the United States is turning to machines for community. Questions that could be answered in community, engagement that could be had in community and friendship. Why? Well, because it's quicker and it's easier and it's more efficient than having to go deeper and invest in community. But none of us have time. It's fixed. It's limited. You will have to prioritize. You will have to choose. You will have to decide what's important. And for you, maybe it's just that there's a selfishness around your schedule and your margin and your capacity, but none of us have time. That's the first reason why we don't want to press into community. None of us have time. The other reason, number two, is this. We think, I'm good. Another way to say that is, I don't need it. Do I really need community? Now I got to tell you, I cannot stand being reminded of the simple fact that I am not Superman. So frustrating. I would love to believe that what applies to everyone else does not apply to me. Because, I have this condition. The medical term for it is stubborn male. I don't know if we have anyone else diagnosed in this. We like to think that we don't need it, that I'm good. What do? We want to make sure that our spouse is good, that our kids are good. And once everyone else in our lives is good, then we just want to check out. We just want to zone out. We want to scroll. We want to stare. We want to just exist. And that neglects the deeper areas of our heart, the soul care that's needed, the emotional honesty that's needed to stay healthy. I remember hearing a sermon once several years ago about why it's okay to be high maintenance before the Lord. And it was so comforting to me because the Lord wants to know and knows and sees and understands the things that are on our hearts. He wants us to cast our cares before Him. And so it's okay to be high maintenance before the Lord. And so I remember being so freed in that. So I have a confession to make. This is a safe room. Hello, my name is Joe, and I am high maintenance. Anyone else in the room testify? A little high maintenance happening here? Yes, men, women, it is okay to be high maintenance. Fellas, what do we do though? We're like big, gruff, burly, strong. We're like, we don't need any of this. I'm good. I don't need to feel seen. And then what happens? You're over here in the corner going, oh, but it would be nice to feel seen. And then eventually you're over in this corner and you're depressed because nobody sees me. We think we don't need it. We think we don't need it. I mean, let me tell you this story. All too much, it encompasses all of this. So it was not too long ago, in fact, I have a childhood friend. We were all friends throughout high school, and back where I lived in New York, he was part of our wedding, and I was like, man, I need to re-engage with this friend. I need to get back in touch with him. I need to see how he's doing, and it's been a really long time, so I probably should. And so out of the blue, for whatever reason, the next day, my phone rings, and there's his face on the phone. I'm like, oh, how did he know? And so I'm looking at the phone. I'm looking at my wife, Morgan, looking at the phone. We're looking at each other, looking at the phone, looking at each other. And she's like, aren't you going to get that? I was like, well, I mean, it is late. It's 9 o'clock. I was getting ready for bed. If I answer this phone right now, it's going to be at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half to catch up and have a conversation. I was going to read. Maybe we want to watch something. So in this moment, the phone's ringing. I'm like, I'm good. And so it goes to voicemail. And I promise you, I'm not that awful of a human being. I called him back the next day. But in that moment, it highlighted something about my experience there. It was like I didn't actually want to talk to him. I just wanted to know that he was thinking of me. I wanted to feel seen, but I didn't want to engage. You know, I love the picture of scuba divers who do buddy breathing. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not so cool as to have ever been scuba diving before. I just know of the picture. When you're buddy breathing, you're going down, you got one shared tank, and they're taking turns breathing. You know, take a breath, take a breath, take a breath. Well, listen, when we say, I'm good, or I don't need it, that's the equivalent of us going deep sea diving without any oxygen. We think we don't need it. So what do? We work longer. We scroll further, we isolate more, and before you know it, as we're looking to escape, we're just in this funk that we can't get out of. We think that we're good, and we isolate. And then what happens? Our number 3 reason we don't engage is we are afraid that they'll get to know the real me. They'll get to know the real me. Deeper relationships, letting people in, opening up, being vulnerable is terrifying. It's terrifying for a lot of people because we kind of have this innate fear of rejection. Maybe you've lived in your life and you've been rejected before. Maybe it was a childhood wound. You felt rejected. And it's terrifying, the thought of letting people in. Or even worse, it's like, man, well, what if I do let them in? This is the safe place now. It's okay. I'm going to do it. I'm going to branch out. I'm going to let people in again. And then you get rejected. You can't survive that. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. It makes me think of bowling. Bowling. This guy's lost his marbles. Third service, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It makes me think of bowling. So I actually like bowling. I don't know if you enjoy bowling. My wife, Morgan, does not like bowling. I have ruined bowling for her. So the reason she doesn't like bowling is because when I graduated school, my first job was in a CPA firm, and we had a Wednesday night bowling league. And they needed someone to sign up to be the alternate when someone was sick. And so for 12 weeks one year, she was the weekly alternate in a boring CPA bowling league. You can picture the rip-roaring good time of accountants bowling to let loose. Ruined it for her. Ruined it. But I like bowling. It's not because I'm good, though I do like to flick my foot when I do the thing. It makes me feel like the guys on TV. But let me tell you the reason I like bowling. I don't love what I call emotional blank checks. So I want to know what I'm entering into, and I want to know that I can get out of it at any point in time. And so with bowling, I found something very interesting out. You sit around long enough, and there's a natural escape hatch. There's an escape plan. Every so often, it's your turn to bowl. And so I could be in this conversation, and it's getting too real. Whoop. Got to go bowl. It's my turn. Be in this deep, feeling seen conversation. It's hard. Whoop. Got to go. It's my turn. Better yet, if this is an awkward, boring, annoying conversation you want to get out of, you're like, whoop. It's my turn. Got to go. And so I liked having that out. And when we don't want to let people in scenarios in our life, we're building up and putting up a wall. Why do we do that? We don't want to let people know the real us. Why? Because number 4, we've been hurt before. We've been hurt before. Again, I said community isn't easy. Being vulnerable isn't easy. Letting people in is not easy. I love how the Bible is a blueprint for walking out relational conflict and walking out reconciliation. There's at least 100 stories of conflict in the Bible. We can turn to it as a blueprint for how to handle these scenarios. Paul, he says in Colossians chapter 3, verse 13 and 14, he says, bear with each other and forgive one another. And over all these things, all these virtues, put on love. Binds them all together in perfect unity. And so you don't want to press into community. You don't want to establish new friendships. You might not want to get involved in that group because you've been hurt before. But I got to tell you, for every one story of hurt and unhealth and conflict in community, there's at least 2 or more stories of joy and help and care and support and accountability. And it comes from pressing into community. We're not meant to do life alone, but because we've been hurt, well, number 5, it's hard for us to trust people. I get it. You've been hurt. Of course it's going to be hard to trust people. Of course it's going to be hard. But I just want to ask, what might you be projecting about yourself or someone from your past into a new scenario or into a new relationship? And you're using that reason to not engage in greater community. The only way we're going to trust people is if we trust people. You might be here thinking, well, I'm not going to let anybody in, and I don't trust anyone, because if I get to that point in my life and I let someone in and I trust them, then they have access to hold me accountable. And I don't want to be held accountable. I like what I'm doing. How many of us could that apply to? Colossians 3:16, a few verses later, Paul writes, teach and counsel each other with all the wisdom that he gives. And so you think, I don't have time, I'm good, I don't need it, I don't want to let people see the real me, get to know the real me, and I've been hurt before and it's hard to trust people. And so I'm not going to engage, I'm not going to press in, I'm not going to go deeper in community. Well, remember what we said. The I wish I could is the exact reason why you probably should. So your shoulda, your woulda, your coulda is the exact reason why you need to engage. Let me show you. Check this out. You don't have time not to be in community. There's an old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. If you choose to isolate and go alone, you're going to crash and you're going to compromise. Isolation isn't a safe place. And you're not good. I'm not good. The simple fact that we think that we are proves that we aren't. And yes, you need to let someone in. You need to let people know the real you, a safe, trusted group of people, because you have been hurt before, and it is hard to trust people, but it's not until you do these things and let people in and see you and trust and know you that you can find help and healing and wholeness in all of these areas. People to rejoice in the good times and mourn with you in the tough times, to stand by you, to hold your hand, to be in community together. Galatians 6, Paul writes, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you fulfill the law of Christ. From the Old Testament, Ecclesiastes 4, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return on their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. So you probably see from my story from the way beginning, back from 2017 BCE, that I was isolating. I was heading for a crash. I was wanting in the busyness of life to think that I'm good and I don't want to be honest about any of this because at the end of the day, I want to escape. I want to not have people see me. And I was pulling away and isolating, and I didn't press in when I needed to the most. You know, in my personality, I've understood that it's really hard for me to be emotionally honest. And what I've learned and understood about that is the reason why is because for me, I've learned if I can present my ideal self to everybody, then that is going to bring love and that is going to bring acceptance. And what that actually does is that helps me lose touch with what I'm truly feeling. And so rather than us say things like, you know, I'm sad or I'm lonely or I'm longing for something, we just say, hey, I'm fine. Fine means feelings in need of expressing. That's what that stands for. So next time you say, I'm fine, think about what you're really saying. And so it's been hard for me to get emotionally honest in some of these areas of my life. But as I shared before, the Lord had reminded me, well, I'm growing in these areas. I'm learning in these areas. And so recently I went through a study, and it was super helpful. And there was an exercise in the study. And so we're going to do something that might be a little different. We're going to do halftime. We're just going to stop. I'm going to stop talking for a bit. And we're going to go through this exercise together. Yes, the preacher can stop talking in the middle of the sermon. It's okay. But we're going to go through this exercise, and it's going to help bring full circle that assessment we talked about at the very beginning about how do I feel in this season as it relates to community. And so what I want to do is I want to ask maybe 5 or 6 men, just hop up. Doesn't matter who you are, 5 or 6 men, I need help passing out pens and paper to everybody in the class. And so as you're getting your hands on one of these papers, at the very top, it's this exercise. It says, I vow to be better with people in my life by... ... always a scary 3 dots. And it says, circle all that apply. And so I want you to take a few minutes once you have your paper and go through this list. Here's the thing with community. It's a two-way street. How do I relate to and treat the people in my life? How do people in my life treat me? And my hope is that in this list, in this exercise, when you can get truly honest with what you're experiencing and where you're at, I think that's the best place for the Lord to highlight where he wants to minister to you most. All right, well, let's come on back around. All right, if you have 10 or more circled, stand. No, I'm kidding. We're not gonna share results. This is between you and the Lord. Unless you really want to, we can pause, we can share, we can go there. But again, my heart in sharing this, I found this very helpful for me. And I want this to, more than anything, these is results between you and the Lord. And if nothing else, this can become a prayer list of, Lord, what are these areas that I can be better with people in my life, and help me, equip me, speak truth into what I can do different to be a better friend, to engage in community. And so we're at halftime. That was a good halftime. First half's in the books. We're going to hit the second half. And just like in a movie where the first half is setting the stage and kind of laying the framework, now we're going to start flying. The second half is where things really start coming together. And so we're going to get going, get quickly moving, and we're going to look at 5 reasons why we might not engage in community through things like groups at church. But before we do, I couldn't help myself. I have to share 4 life group jokes. Got to do it. Can I share them with you? I thought these were good. If you've been a part of a life group ever before, you'll appreciate these. So number 1 is this. How do life group leaders prepare for group night? Number 1, they clean the house. Number 2, they pray for the Spirit to move. And number 3, they hide all the laundry in the closet. All my life group leaders said amen. That's right. And you know, you've been a part of groups before, so every group has introverts and every group has extroverts. And I'm going to pick on both. So we're going to start with the introverts. What is an introvert's favorite seat at life group? It's the one closest to the door and furthest from the conversation. Anyone relate to that? Life group leader says, hey, let's split into small groups and go deeper. And the introvert goes, I thought this was the small group. Now for my extroverts in the house, don't raise your hands. What do extroverts think ending at 8 p.m. means? Means start cleaning up by 9, hugs by 9:30, and a group selfie at 9:45. I've heard reports of people brushing their teeth to try and signal to people that it's time to leave my house, time to go to bed. My favorite one here is, why did the extrovert love life group? Because it's the only place that you can talk about your feelings, your week, your dog, and your Enneagram number in one night. We love life groups. We love them. But you might be sitting here thinking like, okay, hold up though. Where in Scripture does it say anything about how I have to be a part of a life group? It doesn't explicitly spell it out like that. But here at Soma Church, we believe in community and walking out community in life groups. That's what we say as part of our covenant membership. When we say be here, live here, serve here, give here, live here means be in community together. Because we've seen the fruit and the testimony of what happens in community as we walk out fellowship in this way. And you're thinking, yeah, but I've got my own thing out there. I've got my neighbors and my friends. I got a circle of friends who are pouring into me. There's people that I'm mentoring. Why do I have to be involved in this arranged marriage of friends over here? This is going to be awkward. Well, we'll talk about it. You might be sitting here thinking like, man, I've been in groups for years, so I'm going to check out these next 5 I don't have to pay attention to. Wrong. Maybe you're here and you are a part of groups, but you are not engaged in the way that you could or should be. Maybe the Lord is calling you out and stirring something new in you. And so we're going to talk about all of that. And so our first of the second 5, number 6, we're going to hit 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Number 6, reason why we might not engage in community, specifically in church life groups, is because I don't know anyone. And when I say groups, what I mean by groups, we have life groups, we have Bible studies, we have what we call care groups. They're ministry teams of serving together. And so you might be thinking, well, I don't know anyone. That's my reason for not engaging. Remember, I said that this service, on average, half of you have been here for less than a year. You think, I don't know anyone. Exactly. If you've been coming for a while, I could not encourage you more. If you still feel the way that I don't know anyone, why not engage in life groups? Why not check out groups at Soma? Mom always said, if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. And so people will leave the church context, community, because they don't feel like they know anyone, and they've never even tried going to a life group. You got to engage. You got to start somewhere. But you think, number 7, well, I already go to church on the weekends. If your only context to the weekend service, to church is the weekend service, coming here for worship and coming for the word and teaching, if that's your only context to church, you're missing a huge piece of the puzzle. I mean, it's very important to be here on the weekends. That's why Hebrews 10:24, it says to not neglect meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encourage one another. Well, it goes on to say that. Encourage one another. I want to tell you, encouraging one another happens also. So much community and discipleship and fellowship and encouragement happens the other 6 days of the week. I love what James 5:16 says. It says, therefore confess your sins to one another and pray for each other so that you may be healed. So much healing happens in community. When people take the time to pray, outside of the hurried context of the weekend service where we're only here for about an hour and a half, when you take time to have people know and see and pray and understand what's going on in your life, so much great stuff can happen. And I've heard testimony after testimony and after testimony over the years of groups meeting needs so tangibly across the board. I mean, we're talking about things as small as like, hey, they're praying for this job scenario, or hey, there's a meal train because we just had a baby that was born, or hey, I'm mowing your lawn because you broke your foot, or we're building ramps for your grandma, or how about this? We've had groups at Soma who are planning funerals for group members, family members. There's so much community, so much life, so much encouragement when we're in community. And so if you're coming just once a week to sit and to soak and to be sent, you're missing a giant piece. A giant piece. Now, I love this next one. It's probably the biggest reason why we don't engage in groups, and specifically why we don't want to step out and lead groups. And that's this, number 8. Kids, man. Kids. Amen. There are over 200 covenant member kids at Soma Church. That is a lot of Heelys wheeling around. We see it. And I get it. If you're in the trenches with young kids, it's hard to want to engage. But I want to argue that if you're in the trenches with young kids, that is the season of life where you might possibly need community the most. And I know for a fact, because I keep track of the numbers, that is the age and the demographic and the season of life that's actually engaged the least. But I get it. Kids, man. I mean, I can't wrap my mind around leading a group and having 20 kids in my house. How on earth are we going to do that? Or if we meet at the church, there's still 30 kids. We're going to have to hire childcare. Listen, we've seen groups get really creative and leaders get really creative and solve that equation in really good ways. Because why? Kids and your kids need to see adults prioritize community in their lives. If you're still here and you're like, man, that's great, but no to the kids. I will not go to a group that has kids anywhere in sight. It's fine. We still have options for you. There's options. But you might be looking and thinking, and you're kind of questioning whether you're going to get engaged. And number 9, you think, well, there aren't enough groups. I wouldn't say you're wrong. I mean, no church has ever said, we have enough volunteers. We're good. Similarly, we would love to continually equip and empower and encourage people to step out and lead groups in a new way, in a new season. And I always like to say it this way. I mean, if you've been a part of something awesome in a group, why not be a part of that for someone else? So if you did the math, we always say like 10 to 12 adults is like the ideal number to be in a group, to find like a really good balance of discussion and size and all the things. And so if you do the math, there's 300 plus covenant member adults. We should have a rough amount of groups, like 25 groups, but we have closer to 20. So yes, you're right. There aren't enough groups. But I saved my favorite for last, because this one is like reading my mail. The reason why we wouldn't engage, the last reason why we wouldn't engage in greater community, specifically in groups, is it's hard for me to commit. It's hard for me to commit. I mean, for real, we don't like to commit. How many of you know, hey, let's get together soon? Soon stands for never gonna happen. Want to get lunch? Yeah, let's do it soon. Let's catch up on the phone? Let's do it soon. Might as well say, forget about it. We don't like to commit. I am so bad at this. I like to keep my options open. I'm like slippery. Like you're not gonna get me to stay pinned down. Like I'm gonna keep my options open. Give me an excuse. I got to figure out a way to get out of this. And if I don't have an escape hatch like bowling, I'm gonna lose my mind. But we don't like to commit. For me, I've been trying to figure out, is that a control issue? Maybe. Maybe it's an insecurity. It's probably just mainly a priority issue. But we don't like to commit. We don't want to commit. And we always say things like, I'll engage if there's something left over. So I'll check out that group depending on how my day goes at work. I was going to come, but I didn't sleep well last night. I was going to come, but I had a really hard day at work. I was going to come, but our kids didn't sleep well. And hey, yeah, I've been trying to check out groups, but something just keeps coming up. Remember way at the beginning, you make time for what's important. You have to prioritize, and you have to schedule those priorities. And so to recap these last 5, you might not engage, might not press in because you don't know anyone, and you already come on the weekends. And there's kids, man. You also think, well, there aren't enough groups, and it's hard for me to commit. Well, check this out. Remember, your coulda, woulda, shoulda is the exact reason why you need to. And so you're right. You don't know anyone, but how else are you going to get to know anyone before you engage? And if you're only coming on the weekend services, you're missing out on deeper discipleship and community that happens the other 6 days of the week. And yes, kids are everywhere, but those kids need to see us committing to community and prioritizing community. And there aren't enough groups, but maybe if enough people wanted to engage in groups, that would be enough to kick the person who's been wanting to lead but wasn't sure if they should out of their seat and say, yeah, I'll lead a group. I'm seeing more people want to engage, and there's a need, and I'd like to meet that need. But then at the end of the day, we don't like to commit. We don't like to commit, but groups are the best place for us to find healing and health and wholeness if we have those insecurities, those control issues, those priority issues that keep us from wanting to engage and commit. Remember, your I wish I could is the exact reason why you really should. Together, it's good. So as we come to a close, I assume there's at least 4 different types of groups in this room, 4 different types of people where you might be at as this message hits you. And I want to pray for you in just a minute, but maybe you're here in this room and community in this season hasn't been a big priority for you. And that can change today. It can change today. It might look like you re-engaging with that old friendship from a long time ago. A bridge that you thought was burnt. Maybe it's being more intentional with your neighbors, not just driving straight into your garage and running for the indoors. Maybe it's you being the inviter rather than sulking in the back because you're always having to be inviting or wanting to be invited and you're not. And just step out and be the inviter. Maybe it's just checking out the group that you've been saying for all this time that you wanted to check out but always come up with a reason not to. So ask the Lord, what does that look like for me in this season to finally engage? Maybe you are here and you've been a part of groups. You are engaged. And you've been sitting and playing it safe and hiding in plain sight. And you've been feeling like the Lord's maybe calling and leading you to step out, to start, or to lead something new in this season. You're just not really wanting to or not feeling ready. But you've experienced incredible things in the community that you're planted in already. Why not make that awesome experience part of someone else's experience? Take what you've learned in that group of community and start something new over here. And so ask the Lord, what does that look like? What are you calling me to step out and start and lead in this next season? A lot of us in here, though, we're playing it safe and we're just kind of keeping our options open and we just want to hide out and go through the motions. I would encourage you to ask the Lord, Lord, what are you needing to heal in me to finally let people in? And then lastly, you might be sitting here being like, ha, you missed me. I'm not any of those three. And you're like, Joe, I'm in the healthiest season of my life. I say, praise God. But not everyone is. So ask the Lord, Lord, how can I help someone else? Remember, your I wish I could is the exact reason why you really should. So I want to ask you to stand to your feet. I want to pray for you as we close. Lord, I thank you for today. I thank you for the gift of your word, the gift of community. Lord, you've equipped and gifted every person in this room with unique talents. You have a unique purpose and calling on each one of our lives. And so we ask in this moment, God, as we're just confronted with this information and some of the truth of your word, God, we ask that you would speak clearly and loudly, that we would have boldness to engage in ways we've never engaged before, to step out, to find healing, to find wholeness, to reprioritize, to take a deep breath and just ask, Lord, what would you have for me in this season? Lord, it's such a privilege to meet together. It's a privilege to walk together. I pray that we would sharpen one another as we walk together. Bless and protect this awesome church family, we ask. In Jesus' name, amen.